Namaste dear viewers. Let us continue this journey on National Webinar Series Yoga Ramayana Vishwa Kosha History. Continuing with Sangeeta Ramayana in the second session, let us have a wonderful retreat on Ayodhya Kanda by Mrs. Bhavana Pradyumna.
Sangeeta Ramayana, Ayodhya Kanda. Valmiki describes the innumerable virtues of Sri Rama in this sarga. Dasharatha wants to coronate Rama as the crown prince with the approval of all his people. With this end in mind, he invites various citizens, important people from all the cities and villages in his kingdom. Rama's description in the Kriti Ramachandram Bhavayami by one of the trinities of Carnatic music, Sri Muthuswami Dikshitar, set to Raga Vasanta, is a beautiful example of how Valmiki has described Rama and exactly how Dikshitar felt about Rama while writing this composition. Ramachandram bhavayami Raghukulatillakam upendram Ramachandram bhavayami Raghukulatillakam upendram Ramachandram bhavayami Raghukulatillakam upendram Ramachandram bhavayami. Bhumi janayakam mukti mukti dayakam bhumi janayakam mukti mukti dayakam namakirtana tarakam naravaram tamashayam namakirtana tarakam naravaram tamashayam Ramachandram bhavayami Raghukulatillakam upendram Ramachandram bhavayami. Saketa nagare nivasantam samraja pradahanumantam Saketa nagare nivasantam samraja pradahanumantam Ragendu vadanam bhagavantam Ramaniya kalyana gunavantam Ragendu vadanam bhagavantam Ramaniya कमलाक्षं श्रीमन्तं राकेशनुतमनन्तं वरगुरुगुहविहरन्तं काकुत्स्थं धीमन्तं कमलाक्षं श्रीमन्तं राकेशनुतमनन्तं वरगुरुगुहविहरन्तं रामचन्द्रं भावयामि रघुकुलतिलकम् उपेन्द्रं रामचन्द्रं भावयामि. I contemplate on Sri Ramachandra, the foremost in the Raghu clan, and who is the brother of Indra, Upendra. Vishnu is called Upendra because he appeared in the family of Aditi in one of his incarnations, Vamana. He is the lord of Sita, Bhumija, the one who is born as the daughter of earth. He is the one who gives the worldly pleasures and also salvation, Bhukti Mukti, Dayakam. The singing of whose name takes us across the travails of mundane life, the best among men, Naravaram. He is devoid of illusions. The one who resides in Saketa Nagara, Ayodhya, he grants the complete sovereignty, Samrajya, to Anjaneya. His face resembles the full moon, the prosperous lord who has endearing and auspicious qualities. He belongs to the Kakustha Vamsha. He is the one, the intelligent one. He has lotus-like eyes. He is the glorious one, praised by Adishesha. He is the infinite one, Anantam, who sports in the heart of Guru Guha, which happens to be the signature of Sri Muthuswami Dikshitar in the human form. From different sides, actors were showing their talents, dancers were performing dance, singers were singing, and sweet voices were heard, pleasing the minds and ears. There are many phrases that Valmiki refers in his Ramayana that mentions about the singers and dancers. This is one of them, where they are happily welcoming Rama and Sita to Ayodhya. नटनर्तक संघानां गायकानां च नटनर्तक संघानां गायकानां च गायतामनः कर्णसुखावाचः शुश्रुवुश्च ततस्ततः Tyagaraja in this composition describes the greatness of Rama and how he has such a wonderful family with loving brothers, caring brothers, and Goddess Mahalakshmi as his wife. समानमेवरु रमणी समानमेवरु रमणी समानमेवरु रमणी समान मेवरू 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 భామమరువంపు మొలక భామమరువంపు మొలక భక్తియను పంజరపు చిలుక భామమరువంపు మొలక భక్తియను పంజరపు చిలుక రమణీ సమాన మేవరు రమణీ సమాన మేవరు పలుకు పలుకులకు తేలుక మాటలాడు సోదర పలుకు పలుకులకు తేలుక మాటలాడు సోదరులు గలహరి త్యాగరాజ సోదరులు గలహరి త్యాగరాజ కుల విభూష మృదు సుభాష రమణీ సమాన మేవరు సోదరులు గలహరి త్యాగరాజ కుల విభూష మృదు సుభాష రమణీ సమాన మేవరు రమణీ సమాన మేవరు సమాన మేవరు సమాన మేవరు Fearless Rama, who is equal to you? The Raghu race attained supremacy thanks to your advent therein. Your beloved Sita is like a tender and fragrant creeper on your bosom. She is the parrot gracing the cage of devotion to you. You have brothers whose words drip with the sweetness of honey. You are gentle and soft-spoken. We are privileged to have you as our family deity. Another prolific composer, one of the trinities of Carnatic music, Sadguru Sri Tyagaraja. Tyagaraja's Ramayana. Tyagaraja was an ardent devotee of Rama from the 17th century. In Valmiki Ramayana, the Ayodhya Kanda opens with the king Dasharatha's preparations to have Rama crowned as Yuvaraja and their ultimate failure due to the machinations of Kekeyi. Of what avail is human ingenuity, as Tyagaraja in his Kriti? Manasamarthyamo in Ragavardhini. The Lord rides the chariot called this universe and gets things done or undone. Vasishtha and others, all adepts in astrology, fixed the date for Rama's coronation. But the Lord cast his magic net on Kekeyi and foiled the attempt. The Kriti Chinna Nade in Kalanidhi fits in excellently as Sita's request to Rama to take her along to the forest. Rama does not yield at first and relents only after a sharp rebuke from her. Alas, my father has managed to get as his son-in-law a woman in the garb of a man. Jamataram prapya striyam purusha vigraham. In the Kriti Ramachandra Nidaya Suruti Tyagaraja refers to this incident and asks Rama, "Are you angry with me because Sita called you a woman that day?" Adadanna Rosamo. In the forest, Rama sets up a temporary camp at Chitrakuta where the Kakasura incident takes place. Tyagaraja refers to Kakasura in no less than 5 kritis as an example of Rama's unbound mercy, which saves even an offender from punishment. All the gods trembled at the very mention of Rama's arrow chasing the Kakasura and advised him to seek refuge in Rama himself. He says in Sharanu Sharanu Madhyamavati, the bit of straw that Rama released on the crow became a Brahmastra. In one of his compositions set to Raga Bhavapriya. But in the end took only one of his eyes as a token of punishment. Iramuni, set to Raga Vakulabharana. I will be continuing with Bhavayami Raghurama of Swati Tirunal, Maharaja Swati Tirunal composition, which is the basis of this entire Sangita Ramayana. Vihatabhishekamata vipinagatamaya-vacha vihata abhishekamata vipinagatamaya-vacha Sahita Sita Soumitrim Shantatama Shilam Sahita Sita Soumitrim Shantatama Shilam Guhanilaya Gatam Chitrakuta Gata Bharata Datta Guhanilaya Gatam Chitrakuta Gata Bharata Datta Mahitaratnamaya Paduka Madana Sundarangam Mahitaratnamaya Padukam Madana Sundarangam Nisagama Pagama Panisa Risa Nisa Pada Pagarisa Nisagama Pagama Panisa Panisa Garisa Nida Panisa Garisa Da Tisada Sada Garinida Magarisada Bhavayami Raghuramam Vihatabhishekamata vipinagata maya-vacha. The one who, having given up a coronation ceremony, went towards the forest, accompanied by Sita, along with the son of Sumitra, Saumitri, Lakshmana, composed and virtuous. Indian classical music emanates an innate melody replete with emotions. The raga has a soul which conveys the emotion through the swaras. The emotion of the raga can be broadly understood as rasa. Rasa literally has several connotations like flavor or essence or juice or the flow or the taste. According to the Natya Shastra of Bharata, 2nd century BC to 2nd century AD, rasa is the seed and the fruit of the arts. Bharata's Natya Shastra is the oldest testimonial for expounding the doctrine of rasa. One such raga is Shubha Pantwarali, which emotes the raga, the emotion of pathos. On listening to this raga, one can feel the sorrow, the patho, the karuna or the pity. Valmiki describes in his Ramayana, Rama again and again saw that Kausalya, his mother, who was crying thus, running after the chariot as though dancing and shouting, O Rama, Rama, O Sita, and O Lakshmana. Trickling tears descending from her eyes for the sake of Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita. Dancing and singing are not just arts that we, or not just a way of life that we experience when we are happy, but also when we are sorrow, or when we miss somebody, or it may be love. It can be any emotion. Rama could witness his mother calling him as if she was dancing and singing, calling their names. Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, तथा रुदन्तीं तथा रुदन्तीं कौसल्यामृतं तम् अनुधावति कौसल्यामृतं तम् अनुधावतीं क्रोशन्तीं राम राम इति हासीते लक्ष्मणा इति च राम 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 इति राम हा सीता लक्ष्मण इति च राम लक्ष्मण सीतार्थं स्रवन्ति वारिनेत्रजम् असकृत्प्रैक्षतदा प्रत्यन्तेमिव मातरम् हा राम हा सीता हा लक्ष्मणा इति असकृत्प्रैक्षतदा नृत्यन्तीमिव मातरम् मातरम् गुहनिलयगतं चेत्रकूटागत भरतदत्त गुहनिलयगतं चेत्रकूटागत गुहनिलय चित्रकूट गुहनिलय गतम् When Lord Sri Ramachandra left Ayodhya with Sita and Lakshmana. When he reached the forest with them, they had to cross the river Ganga. Guha had already heard about the banishment of Lord Rama and came running to help him. One of his boatmen was unloading people on the opposite bank, and Guha said to Kevat to bring the boat and take the divine personalities on the other side of Mother Ganga. Kevat brought the boat near Lord Rama, got down and did namaskara with a lot of devotion. He started and ended his days with prayers to Lord Rama, and throughout the day he was well known for talking about the glories of the Lord. Kevat asked Guha whether he could wash Lord's feet before he stepped into the boat. Guha told him to wash his feet and after seating him in the boat. But Kevat was adamant and told Guha that he would like to wash Lord's feet before he got into the boat. Guha was a little angry at his stubbornness. Then Kevat decided to explain his point to Lord Rama. Lord, with the limited income I have as boatsman, it is enough to meet ends in my life, and I am afraid that I cannot afford any more boats. So let me please wash the dust on your feet before you step into my boat. Lord Rama smiled, looking at Sita Devi, and remained silent. Kevat continued, Lord, I have heard that the dust from your feet embraced a stone in the forest and it became a woman. My boat is made of several pieces of wood, and if the dust of your feet fell on my boat, I am afraid that the boat would turn into several women corresponding to each piece of wood. I sincerely cannot take care of any more members in my household. And that is why I am requesting you to wash the feet and make it dust free before you step into the boat. Lord Rama appreciated his pure and innocent faith. After washing their feet, Kevat placed his hands on earth and asked Lord Rama to first step on his hand before stepping into the boat. This way he washed all his sins by having a touch of Lord's feet. As soon as they alighted the boat, Sita immediately withdrew a ring from her finger and handed it over to Lord Rama, signaling him to pass it on to the boatsman. Here, brother, this is all we can pay you for your kind service, says Rama. No, my lord, I cannot accept. But Rama asks why? Because people of same profession do not charge each other for their services. How can you and I be of the same profession? Rama is perplexed. Prabhu, as I have made you cross this river today, when my time comes, take me across this samsara sagara, the ocean of this material existence. That would be your return to me. The Lord was so overwhelmed at this devotional request from Kevat that he held out his arms and embraced the boatman. Later, Kevat was given mukti from the cycle of birth and death. Sri Shankaracharya explains this through one of his compositions. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. Iha samsare bahu dostare, iha samsare bahu dostare, kripaya pare pahi murare, kripaya pare pahi murare. Iha samsare bahu dostare, kripaya pare pahi murare, kripaya pare pahi murare. Bhaja govindam, भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं. The same devotion and the request can definitely be experienced through this beautiful composition. We can come across different Ramayanas that has been composed through the different centuries, through the different ages. Gita Ramayana is one such collection of 56 Marathi language songs, chronologically describing events from the Indian Hindu epic, the Ramayana. It was broadcast by All India Radio, Pune in 1955-56, 4 years before the television was introduced in India. Written by G.D. Madhulkar and the songs being composed by Sudhir Phadke, Gita Ramayana was acclaimed for its lyrics, music and singing. It is considered a milestone of Marathi light music and the most popular Marathi version of Ramayana. Here is one such composition which speaks about Guha and the river Ganga and of course the hero of this Sangita Ramayana, Rama crossing the river with Sita and Lakshmana.
न कोस नौके भरत पिरोगा न कोस गंगे और भरो न कोस नौके भरत फिरोगा न कोस गंगे और भरो श्री रामाचे नाम गातया श्री रामाला पार करो जय गंगे जय भागीरथी जय जय राम दाशरथी जय गंगे जय भागीरथी जय जय राम दाशरथी जय गंगे जय श्री राम अतिथि असोवा सोत रामा भैल लाविने अपले काम अतिथि असोवा सोत रामा पैल लाविने अपले काम भले बुरे ते राम जानता आपण आपले काम करो श्री रामाचे नाम गातया श्री रामाला पार करो जय गंगे जय भागीरथी जय जय राम दाशरथी जय गंगे जय जय राम गंगे तुझा मंगल योग भगीरथी आणि तुझा जलोग गंगे तुझा मंगल योग भगीरथ आणि तुझा जलोग त्याचा वंशज नैसी तू ही दक्षिण देशा अमर करो त्याचा वंशज नैसी तू ही दक्षिण देशा अमर करो श्रीरामाचे नाम गातया श्रीरामाला पार करो जय गंगे जय भागीरथी जय जय राम दाशरथी जय गंगे जय जय राम पावन गंगा पावन राम श्रीरामाचे पावन नाम पावन गंगा पावन राम श्रीरामाचे पावन नाम त्रिदोषनाशी प्रवास हा प्रभु नाविक आम्ही नित्य स्मरू त्रिदोषनाशी प्रवास हा प्रभु नाविक आम्ही नित्य स्मरू जय गंगे जय भागीरथी जय जय राम दाशरथी जय गंगे जय भागीरथी जय जय राम दाशरथी जय जय राम दाशरथी जय 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 राम दाशरथी.
बोलो सिया राम की जय.
गुहनिलयगतं चित्रकूटगत भरतदत्त महितरत्नमय पादुकं मदनसुन्दरागम् महितरत्नमय पादुकं मदद सुन्दरागम् निसगम पगम पनिस रिस निस पद पग रिस निसगम पगम पनिस पनिस गरिस निध पनिस गरिस द रिस द सद गरि निध मगरि सद भावयामि.
Bharata requests Rama to oblige him by accepting the kingdom of Ayodhya, being offered by him back to Rama with the concurrence of Kaikeyi, even though bestowed on him by their deceased father. Yes, Dasharatha had left the earthly world. Rama consoles Bharata, saying that the death is inevitable for living beings and they should not grieve for their deceased father. Rama asks Bharata to control his grief and to go back to Ayodhya to shoulder the burden of the rulership there in order to command of their deceased father, and that Rama himself would obey his father's command by staying back in the forest. Keeping Rama's sandals on his head, Bharata ascends his chariot along with Shatrughna. Bharata advances along with his troops alongside the mountain of Chitrakuta. On the way, he beholds Bharadwaja's hermitage and meets the sage. Bharata informs the sage about the insistence of Rama to stay back in the forest for 14 years so as to honor the promise of his father, and also Vasishta's advice to Rama to offer his sandals to Bharata to ensure peace and harmony in Ayodhya. The other Ramayana that I want to discuss is the Goswami Tulsidas written Ramacharita-manas. Written in the Devanagari script, it is an epic poem in the Awadhi language composed by the 16th century Indian poet Tulsidas. The word Ramacharita-manas literally means Lake of the Deeds of Rama. It is considered one of the greatest works of Hindu literature. Tulsidas was a great scholar of Sanskrit. However, he wanted the story of Rama to be accessible to the general public, as many Apabhramsha languages had evolved from Sanskrit, and that was the time few people were understanding Sanskrit. So, in order to make the story of Rama as accessible to the layman as to the scholar, Tulsidas chose to write in Hindi, which was the language of general parlance in the large parts of North India at the time. Tulsidas remained steadfast in his resolve to simplify this knowledge containing the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Puranas, easily understandable to the common man.
राम प्रेम भजन भरतु बड़े नए कर तुते चातक हंस सराहियात टेक विवेक विभूति नित पूजत प्रभु पावरी प्रीति न हृदय समाते मागे मागे आय सुकरत राज काज बहु बाते सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम सिया राम प्रेम पीयूष पूरन होत जन मुन भरत को मुनि मन गम जम नियम समदम विषम भ्रत आचरत को दुख दाह दारिद दंभ दूषण सुजस मिस अपहरत को कलिकाल कलिकाल तुलसी से सटन ही घटे, राम मन मुख करत को। भरत चरित करी नेमु तुलसी, जो सादर सुनहि, सिया राम पद प्रेमु अवसी, होई भवरस विरती। सिया राम, 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 सिया राम।
Thank you, Mrs. Bhavana Pradyumnaji, for your wonderful retreat on Ayodhya Kanda. Tomorrow with another part. Namaste.